Libra, someone spoke to God about you. The moment those words are spoken, something deep within you stirs. It feels as though the universe itself pauses for a heartbeat. The wind quiets, the air softens, and suddenly your spirit knows, this message has found you for a reason. You may not know who it was that spoke your name in prayer. You may not know whether they did it in love, in guilt, or in confusion. But one thing is certain, your name reached heaven. And when heaven hears your name, nothing remains the same. Somewhere, someone whispered your story in the presence of the divine. Maybe they asked for forgiveness. Maybe they sought understanding. Maybe they just wanted peace after everything that happened between you. But in their search for answers, they stirred something sacred. Because when they spoke about you, heaven listened. Every tear you've ever cried, every silent night you questioned your worth, every moment you felt unseen, none of it was wasted. God took those moments and built a bridge of remembrance, and through that bridge, your name was carried upward, on the breath of those who finally realized how deeply you touched their soul. Before we journey deeper, pause for a moment and declare your readiness for what's coming. Type in the comments, "I am ready for divine truth." Because when you write those words, you're not just typing, you're aligning. You're saying to the universe, I'm ready to hear what was revealed about me. Libra, what you're about to hear isn't a coincidence. It's not random. It's a confirmation, a message that carries the weight of divine timing. Heaven has seen what you carried in silence. Heaven has heard what others misunderstood. Stay with me until the very end, because the truth that was revealed will not only leave you speechless, it will set your spirit free. Libra. A night so still that even the stars pause their shimmer to listen. The world sleeps, but one heart does not. Somewhere, far from your knowing, someone kneels, not out of routine, but out of restlessness. Their hands tremble, their voice cracks, and in that sacred silence they whisper your name before God. It wasn't out of anger. It wasn't out of bitterness. It was something far deeper, something they couldn't quite understand. They said, "Why does this Libra still shine after all I did? Why do they still walk with peace while I wrestle with my own storms?" You see, Libra, when your spirit is aligned with divine energy, your light doesn't depend on human approval. It burns quietly, yet powerfully. Even in the darkness others tried to leave you in. What they saw as your weakness was never weakness. It was grace. The kind of grace that keeps glowing even after the fire has gone out. In that quiet conversation, God didn't respond with thunder or lightning. He didn't need to. His answer came through stillness, through a knowing that filled the room like soft light at dawn. Heaven doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, "This one is protected." Because Libra, your heart carries something rare, a purity that cannot be corrupted, even by betrayal. They didn't know that every moment you spent in pain was recorded in heaven as purpose. They didn't know that every tear you shed was not wasted. It became a seed planted in sacred soil. Those seeds, your heartbreaks, your disappointments, your silent prayers, began to grow in unseen realms. And while they thought they had buried you, what they really did was water your future. There, in that moment of confession, something began to shift. The one who spoke to God about you felt a weight they couldn't name. The weight of realization. They saw that you were never their enemy. You were their mirror. You showed them who they were and who they refused to become. They thought they could break your peace. But every time they spoke against you, heaven built a wall around you. Every word they used to harm you became a reason for divine remembrance. And now your name is not just known, it is honored in the spirit realm. So when they asked God, "Why does Libra still rise?" the answer came softly but surely, "Because I hold them." Libra, understand this. Sometimes your silence speaks louder than their actions. Sometimes your forgiveness is what convicts their soul. You didn't have to defend yourself, because heaven was already listening. And on that quiet night when they finally spoke your name, it wasn't a curse. It was the beginning of their awakening. God let them see what they had overlooked. That your love was pure, your loyalty rare, and your spirit untouchable. They thought they ended a chapter of your life, but what they didn't know is that they helped begin your testimony. Their loss of you became their lesson, your pain became your power, and as heaven listened, God smiled, because what they meant to destroy became the very reason your destiny began to unfold. Libra, the night they spoke your name before God, your story changed forever. You were remembered in light, and nothing could erase that. They asked God, why does Libra keep getting back up? They couldn't understand it. They saw how many times life tried to push you down, how often people turned their backs, how many doors closed right when you needed them open. But every time, Libra, every single time, you rose again, quietly, gracefully, without bitterness. And heaven replied, because they are built from balance and resurrection. You see, your soul carries the rhythm of divine justice. You fall, but you never stay down. You hurt, but you never let the pain harden you. Your heart was shaped by both peace and fire, soft enough to forgive, strong enough to survive. Your energy carries justice in silence. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to fight to prove a point. Your presence itself corrects imbalance. When others wrong you, you don't seek revenge, you wait. Because you know that divine timing has a way of showing truth in ways that words never can. Libra, your silence unsettles those who once tried to test your strength. Your calmness confuses them, because they expected you to fall apart. They expected you to lose yourself, to crumble under the weight of disappointment. But instead, you rose higher. You healed deeper. You glowed brighter. And now the same people who questioned your resilience are questioning themselves. They went to God seeking answers, asking why you keep thriving after everything. And instead of answers, heaven gave them conviction. God allowed them to see your grace and realize what true strength looks like. Because Libra, your peace isn't weakness, it's your weapon. Your calmness is your crown. It's the reason no battle can defeat you for long. You walk through chaos and somehow bring harmony wherever you go. Even when your heart breaks, your spirit remains steady, balanced between what was lost and what will be restored. They finally understood. Your strength doesn't come from luck or pride or stubbornness. It comes from alignment. You are guided, protected, and spiritually anchored. The storms that were meant to drown you only washed away what didn't belong. In trying to understand your peace, they met the one who gave it to you. They realized your glow wasn't human, it was divine. It was the reflection of every moment you chose faith over fear, stillness over revenge, forgiveness over resentment. And that's when heaven whispered again, this one doesn't just survive, they resurrect. You are proof, Libra, that no amount of darkness can overcome a soul lit by divine balance. You fall, but you rise refined. You bend, but you never break. You hurt, but you heal with grace. That's why the question they asked God still echoes in their hearts today. Because the answer was never just about you getting back up. It was about the divine power that lives within you. When they spoke to God about you, Libra, something shifted in the unseen. The atmosphere around them began to change in quiet, unexplainable ways. Suddenly, the peace they once had felt distant. The nights grew longer, the silence louder, and in that stillness, something sacred began to unfold. Heaven started showing them who you truly were. At first, they didn't understand why your memory kept returning to them, in dreams, in moments, even in random conversations. But God was working. He was replaying scenes in their spirit. The way you forgave when you didn't have to, the way you gave when you had nothing left, the way you smiled even when your heart was breaking. They began to see the weight of what they did and the beauty of who you are. You see, Libra, when heaven decides to reveal truth, it does so gently yet powerfully. It doesn't come as punishment, it comes as awareness. And that awareness began to pierce through their pride, through their excuses, through their denial. In divine light, truth appeared. It was as if God held up a mirror and said, now look, this is who they really were. This is what you could not see. They saw how your intentions were never hidden behind manipulation or self-interest. They saw how you carried others, people who misunderstood you, used you, or doubted you, and still loved them with a genuine heart. For the first time, they realized how much your kindness had cost you. They remembered the moments when you stayed, even when leaving would have been easier. They remembered how you tried to bring peace while everyone else was adding chaos. And in that remembering, they began to feel something they had never felt before: conviction. They couldn't run from it anymore. Every vision, every sign, every sudden wave of emotion was a reminder. You were never ordinary. You were a divine assignment. A light in human form sent into their life to awaken something inside them. Compassion, accountability, truth. But they didn't value it then. They tried to dim it, to question it, to mock it. And now they are haunted by that very light. Because your kindness echoes. It lingers in places they thought they left behind. It visits them when they least expect it, reminding them that pure souls don't disappear. They mark you forever. Heaven revealed that you were not meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to teach something eternal. Your presence was a divine lesson wrapped in human form. A reminder that love cannot be manipulated, that good hearts cannot be replaced, and that divine justice always finds its way back to truth. So when they spoke to God about you, Libra, they weren't ready for the answer. Because what was revealed didn't just describe who you are, it exposed who they were. Now every time they think of you, they don't just remember your face, they remember what heaven showed them, that you were sent into their story as grace, not as a mistake. And that realization changed everything. The revelation didn't come softly, Libra. It came like rain on a quiet grave, heavy, cleansing, unavoidable. It washed over their heart until they could no longer escape what they had done. Every unkind word, every false story whispered in shadows, every silent moment when they could have defended you but chose not to, all of it came rushing back. They asked God about you, expecting confirmation of their judgments. They thought heaven would justify their distance, excuse their betrayal, or validate their pride. But instead, judgment came through you. Because when God shows someone who you truly are, He doesn't do it with explanations, He does it with absence. He lets them feel the silence after your voice is gone. He lets them experience the emptiness after your love has been withdrawn. He lets them realize that the peace they once felt around you wasn't ordinary. It was divine energy flowing through you. And now, Libra, some hearts are heavy with regret. They replay the moments they took you for granted, and something inside them aches in ways they can't describe. The same lips that once spoke against you now tremble in guilt. The same eyes that once rolled in judgment now search for glimpses of the peace you carried so effortlessly. Life without your energy feels colder. The days seem longer. The laughter they share now feels hollow. Because what they lost wasn't just you, it was the atmosphere your soul created. God allowed them to feel what it's like to walk without your light. He didn't need to punish them, He simply removed your presence. And in that void, they found the truth. You were the balance in their chaos, the calm in their noise, the kindness that kept them human. It hurts them now, in ways you'll never see. Not because you cursed them, but because you blessed them. And they didn't know how to treat that blessing. They realize now that they were holding something sacred and mistook it for something ordinary. They finally understand, Libra, you weren't just a person in their life. You were a lesson from heaven, a reminder that not every soul can be replaced, that divine energy doesn't stay where it isn't respected, and that sometimes losing a person like you is the most painful form of divine correction. The weight of realization has fallen upon them, not as anger from above, but as a spiritual awakening. They see clearly now who you were, and who they were when you stood beside them. They see how your patience covered their flaws, how your love protected their image, and how your forgiveness kept their soul from breaking sooner. And now, Libra, heaven's balance has been restored. Those who once took you lightly now carry the heavy truth of what they lost. The same silence they mistook for weakness has become the echo of their regret. You were never meant to be forgotten. You were meant to be remembered. Remembered not just as someone who loved deeply, but as someone who taught them what love from heaven truly feels like. Heaven works in strange symmetry, Libra. While they were speaking to God about you, asking questions, seeking understanding, or even defending their own actions, God was already speaking to the universe about them. Because every word spoken in the divine realm has a ripple effect, and every action carries a balance that must eventually return to its source. The universe heard the conversation before you did, and though you couldn't see it, a sacred exchange began to take place. Balance had to be restored. The energy that was taken from you, the time, the trust, the peace, all of it was being weighed in divine scales. What was lost had to be returned. What was broken had to be rebuilt. So one by one, heaven started closing doors where betrayal had entered. Every place your name had been spoken with deceit began to lose its power. Every environment that once caused you pain began to reject the energy that hurt you. God didn't have to announce it. He simply began to shift things quietly. And at the same time, peace started returning to you. Not suddenly, but gradually. Like morning light after a long, sleepless night. You began to feel lighter. You started waking up without the same heaviness. You noticed little blessings showing up, unexpected messages, small miracles, moments that reminded you that you were never forgotten. Because Libra, divine justice doesn't need an audience. God doesn't prove his point through noise. He proves it through manifestation. While others tried to explain away your worth, heaven decided to show it. Opportunities that slipped away before are circling back now. Love that felt unreachable is drawing closer. And the peace you thought you'd never find again is rebuilding itself inside your spirit. This is the quiet power of balance, the same energy that governs your very essence. You are walking proof that God's justice doesn't need witnesses. It only needs time. He doesn't need to expose those who wronged you. He allows their own choices to reveal the truth. And he doesn't need to argue for your favor. He simply lets your blessings speak. Now everything that left your life in confusion is returning in clarity. What once ended without reason will now make sense in hindsight. What once hurt will soon heal into wisdom. The pain that used to break your heart will become the proof of your anointing. This is the divine exchange, Libra, the holy transaction between heaven and earth. Sorrow for serenity, loss for legacy, tears for transformation. God saw how long you carried the weight quietly, how often you smiled through pain, and how faithfully you waited without losing your light. Now, he's restoring everything, but not as it was. He's returning it better. The universe doesn't forget the pure-hearted. And for you, Libra, this chapter marks the moment when the balance is finally restored, not through revenge, but through reward. Your peace is the proof that heaven has already moved on your behalf. What they discovered about you, Libra, wasn't ordinary, because you were never ordinary. You are not just a person people meet by chance. You are an encounter written by divine design. You don't simply cross paths with others, you awaken something inside them. They realize that you are a mirror. When people meet you, they don't just see you, they see themselves. You reflect their truth back to them. You show them who they really are, beneath the layers of pride, fear, and illusion. And that's why some adore you deeply, while others can't stand the way your light makes them feel. You awaken what's hidden. You bring to the surface what others try to bury. You stir memories, emotions, and truths that many thought they had long escaped. To some, that awakening feels like healing. To others, it feels like exposure. But either way, Libra, your energy changes people, even when you don't intend to. God showed them this truth in ways they couldn't ignore. He revealed that your silence was never emptiness. It was sacred space. It was how you listened to the voice of the divine even when the world demanded your reaction. You don't fight with words, you move with wisdom. You don't beg for closure. You trust time to reveal truth. They finally understood that your love was not weakness, but strength beyond their comprehension. You loved from a place of purity, not possession. You cared without expecting to be repaid. You offered peace even to those who sowed chaos. And in a world that rewards pride, your humility confused them until heaven revealed its power. God showed them that your forgiveness wasn't surrender. It wasn't you giving up. It was you saying, I trust the divine to handle what I cannot. Every time you chose peace over revenge, heaven recorded it. Every time you let go instead of fighting back, you created space for God to move on your behalf. They spoke to God about you, Libra, and heaven answered, this one belongs to me. Those words changed everything. Because once heaven claims you, no human opinion can define you again. No lie can stick, no betrayal can destroy, no loss can remove your light. You were sent as a reminder that divine souls walk quietly, but leave eternal impressions. Your energy doesn't demand attention, it commands respect. Your heart doesn't chase validation, it attracts revelation. And now, they see it clearly. You were never the one to blame. You were the one sent to teach love through patience, to teach forgiveness through pain, to teach balance through chaos. You are the calm after their storm, the proof that goodness still exists, the evidence that God places His essence inside human hearts to remind the world that light still wins. They spoke to God about you, Libra, and heaven whispered the truth. This one belongs to me. And that truth, once revealed, changed not only how they see you, but how heaven will bless you next. Now something new unfolds, Libra. You're stepping into a season where what once confused you will finally begin to make sense. The energy has shifted, softly but powerfully. What was hidden will begin to show itself. What felt delayed will start to flow with divine ease. And as this new chapter opens, you will notice subtle changes all around you. People you thought were gone for good may start to reappear, not to disturb your peace, but to acknowledge it. Some will come back with trembling apologies, carrying words they never had the courage to say before. They'll admit what they now see, confess what they once denied, and tell you that the peace surrounding your life has left them in awe. This is the turning point. The energy has reversed its direction. Where once you were misunderstood, you will now be respected. Where once you were doubted, you will now be believed. Where once you were hidden, you will now be seen. You will feel unseen hands guiding you forward, gently steering you toward a path free from the weight of misunderstanding. You will feel lighter, calmer, more centered. What used to drain you will no longer have access to you. It's as though heaven itself is reorganizing your story, removing what no longer aligns and replacing it with what finally does. And the ones who once questioned your strength will become witnesses to your transformation. Your glow-up will not just be external, it will be spiritual. Your peace will radiate, your confidence will become effortless, your silence will speak louder than their noise ever could. Soon they will say, I talked to God about Libra, and now I see why they were untouchable. They will realize that your favor was never man-made, it was heaven-assigned. Your grace was not the result of luck, it was divine protection. Because divine favor cannot be stolen, Libra. It cannot be imitated, manipulated, or erased. It only expands. The more life tried to dim your light, the more it began to spread. The more others tried to tear you down, the higher the universe lifted you. This is your turning point. The moment when what once hurt you now honors you, and what once left you in pieces now becomes the proof of your power. The same mouths that questioned your journey will now speak your name with respect. Because the truth is finally clear. You were never fighting for attention. You were being prepared for recognition. And now the world will see what heaven always knew. So here you are, Libra. Still standing, still glowing, still protected. After everything that tried to silence you, your light remains untouched. What was meant to break you became the reason you discovered your strength. What was meant to bury you became the ground from which your purpose grew. You didn't have to defend yourself. Heaven already did. Every secret conversation spoken against you, every hidden jealousy, every false accusation, none of it went unseen. Each word thrown behind your back became a seed that heaven used to grow your miracle. Every betrayal, every misunderstanding, every closed door, all of it worked together to prepare you for this exact moment. God revealed you, Libra, not to shame them, but to elevate you. To show the world that divine favor doesn't need to fight for validation. It simply rises, again and again, until even those who doubted you have no choice but to say they were chosen all along. Now your life will become the living answer they'll never forget. Your peace will speak louder than their past words. Your success will echo louder than their silence. And your glow will remind them that light always wins. Type in the comments, "I am seen by heaven." Let that be your declaration tonight. Your way of saying, "I know who I am, and I know who walks with me." And if this message touched your spirit, don't leave without subscribing. Because your story, Libra, is far from over. It's only beginning to unfold. And what's coming next will leave even heaven in awe.